Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of Life's Little Boogers. We're here to talk about not boogers, no, but life's little boogers. Boogers being anxiety, getting old. I got a box from my mother today, which had a whole lot of pictures. Some of you who are on my Facebook may have seen some of them I posted. And I'm looking at those and I'm realizing how old I really am. There's a picture in there of me with my son when I was 16. And I'm looking at this chick, and I'm thinking, damn, she looks good. She's a pretty woman right there. But you know what? I still think I'm okay. I mean, I'm chubby and I'm old. What can I say? But you know what? I've held up okay for somebody who's 57 years old. Yeah, doing okay. And so, as far as my eyes are still wide enough, but I got this mold that came up a few years ago. I don't know where that came from. I never had a mold there. And so I'm looking at the pictures. I didn't have a mole. I just suddenly have this mole. Came up about, maybe 20 years ago. And it's like, I pull the glasses down, try to hide it. Doesn't do any good. You can still see it. I just live with it. But those are the things that happen to us when we get old. Our body changes, our mind changes, the way we think about things change. Um, Anxiety has played a role in my life, so that has a lot to do with how I've changed as I've gotten older. My anxiety's gotten worse rather than better. But at least now I know what it is. I didn't know what it is. If you wonder about my camera angle here, I have a new webcam, which for some reason doesn't seem to work even with an overhead light. It works, but it's very dark. See, actually, I can show you. See, if I turn, well, no, it won't let me do it. Oh, well. But it won't, it looks very dark, so I'm having to use my FaceTime camera, which is way up here somewhere because I have this huge monitor. And so I like my webcam, which is like right here, which, there's my webcam, but it's just not working right. So I'm going to have to get another one. That one's just not cutting it. I should have gotten the brand I always get, but I didn't. I got a different one. That's another thing about getting older. People like to say, older people, they don't have the tech skills and stuff like this. I have good tech skills. Most of us, I think, have good tech skills simply because we were there at the beginning of the computer revolution. We're the ones who had the Commodore 64s. We're the ones who, had Mac, had the first Mac, the Apple computers, the one and alls with the little disk drive in the front. It's second coming out after Lisa. We're the first ones who had Windows 3.0. We were the first ones. And so, all of the kids now, they don't really understand the tech as well as we do, I think. And so it's nice to know that I can do this and use YouTube and some of the other platforms. Somebody pointed that out to me today that, I said, well, you're like one of the kids. You tell them to subscribe and everything. And I'm like, okay, because this person that said that to me is probably not the most tech-savvy person in the world, but he's a good guy. And so anyway, I'm looking at this box. I'll go back again. Looking at this box, my mother sent him all these pictures. And I posted some of them on Facebook, and I think I'll throw one up as the, what do you call it, the thumbnail for this particular video. But what do you think about getting older? I mean, how has it affected you? What is it about you that is so different? Is it the way you look? Is it the way you feel? Is it how you handle things? I know some people who went from being total progressives in their youth, I mean, total liberals, to being way over the top, conservatives as older adults. So what goes through somebody's mind when they change their whole dynamic outlook on life? What is it that causes that switch? Is there some button that goes off or gets pushed? I mean, what happens when that changes? And I'm looking back at Mark, my husband, and he was an old hippie. That was just what he was. And everything about him was, his favorite saying to me was, be like the river and flow. And I used to look at him and go, yeah, okay, you do that. I'm just not capable of that. And some things are just, I don't know. I haven't changed that much as far as my attitude. I'm still a progressive. I still think Jane Addams was probably the best person on the planet. There are all these things that just about me haven't changed, those outlooks. And so I don't really understand how people do change in that way. What causes that switch over from being either ultra conservative to progressive or from progressive to ultra conservative? Why? I know one guy that I knew back in the 70s, and hippie, long hair, smoked the weed constantly, biggest pothead you ever want to imagine, yeah, live and let live, that kind. Now, you can't even talk politics with this guy. He's so pro-Trump that he lives and breathes Trump. And so, that's so weird to me. That's just so weird, because I had this expectation when I renewed my friendship with this person that he would still be as progressive as he was, but it's like something changed. So anyway, enough of that. Anyway, I got this box, got all these pictures, all this little memorabilia, and I'm looking back at pictures of my great-grandparents, my father, my mother. I didn't know my father that well. I'm going to be honest, he was kind of a jerk. I'm not going to go into the details of why my father was a jerk. He was a jerk. He was not a nice person. Other people say, oh, he was a good guy. I really liked him. Good for you. I didn't. I met my father 4 times in my life, and each time he created anxiety in my life. He's not someone that I have a lot of respect for. And I'm saying this not nicely, I know. I shouldn't be talking bad of the dead. I'm not talking bad of the dead. I'm just saying he was not a nice person. He had a lot of issues. Maybe he should have gone into therapy, but he was one of those people that probably would never have agreed to something like that. And I have pictures of my son, whom I've not seen in 20 years. My daughter, Rebecca, whom I've not seen since 2016. She came down when Mark died. Haven't talked to her much. My grandson, whom I've not seen since he was 2, is almost just right at 20 years old. And my son, James, I think he lives in Arkansas somewhere. I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know. And maybe the loss of the relationship with those children has a lot to do with my anxiety over time. But, at some point, the loss of those relationships hurt me. But in the end, it's their decision. I'm an open book. I'm here for them if they want to communicate with me. So it's their decision, and I don't get upset about it anymore. I used to when I was younger, but not now. It's irrelevant now. I'm going to get out and start doing some stuff. One of the people on one of my groups is a photographer, and I'm a photographer, and a couple other people, photographers like to go out and take pictures, which I might go on whale watching. They're talking about chartering and going out whale watching. I thought it was really cool, so I'm going to try that. This weekend, we're going to go to the Tulip Festival over in Woodburn, Oregon. So that ought to be interesting. I'm going to actually call them and ask them if I can bring my drone and try to fly. See, that's another thing about getting older. I'm 57, but I still want to go fly my drone. I want to do something. I don't want to, gardening is not enough. Playing the guitar is not enough. It's just not enough. There's got to be more, and you have to learn how to live it. And for me to be able to overcome some anxiety to do it is hard. But I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep talking about it until I actually do it. And if I chicken out, I feel like everybody should just say, you know what, you're a coward, if you chicken out of this and not go. But they have balloons if they can, if the weather's right, and you go and have fields of tulips. I'm hoping they'll let me take my drone and I can fly my drone over the fields of tulips. Wouldn't that be pretty? So anyway, back to the box. If you can see behind me, let's see, on the table, you can't see it, but right behind me on the table is a tiny little box that contains the remains of my cat, Chop Suey. He was a wonderful cat. We loved him very much. And here I am, I'm reminiscing about cats. Is that another thing we do when we get older? We start to reminisce about things that, for most people, if to hear it would make it trivial, it would be nothing. Oh, she's thinking about her damn cat. Oh, those cat ladies. Hell yeah. I love my cat. I love Chop Suey. Cat Chop Suey was great. Eddie was great. I cried for 2 years over a cat. That's just sad. Very, very sad. I guess it was because he was so young And he was my baby, and he took care of me when I was at my lowest. You know, he was there. He was always cuddled up in my shoulder or in my lap or on my head or doing, having antics in the house. Sometimes I think as we get older, it is necessary to have a companion. If you don't have a human companion, then I think it's important to, at least if you can manage it. I wouldn't get an animal companion if I could not manage it. But if you can management is something that you should consider. Everybody should have a companion, to kind of spend time with, to pet and love, and that gives love back. I live with my daughter, and I'm not the most affectionate person in the world, and it's because of my anxiety. There's always this fear of something, rejection or fear of ridicule. That's one of the big ones, is fear of ridicule. But when it happens as I've gotten older, I used to would cry about things, and now I've gotten, whenever I feel like, I'm being ridiculed, I know how to say, fuck you. That's the one thing I could never do when I was younger, was just to say fuck you. And now I can. That's the difference, I think, too, between being young and being old. It doesn't matter anymore who you say fuck you to. Another thing in that box was a lot of jewelry that belonged to Mark and that belonged to his wife Gail. And one of those things was this, and I put it on, and I probably wear it all the time. It's a crucifix, and it's a Hebrew symbol. Someone can tell me exactly what that means. And I just wear it because I want to wear this now because it belonged to Mark, and it's symbolic of him, because things like this mattered, to him. And so it's kind of important. I think these things become more important to us too as we age, as much as those photographs have become more important to me than they were 20 years ago. And they contribute somewhat to my stabilization and looking back on the past and presenting myself with the future is always something that can help you analyze kind of what's going on with you, looking where you've come from to figure out where you're going. And so thanks for joining me for this little episode, and see you next time.